Yeah.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Highlight Taken podcast. It is Bring Your Uglies Hat to Work Day. I forgot my hat. David, back at you again from Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah, man. Nick back at you in Jacksonville. I couldn't decide, David. I don't know if you want to help. I mean, I got this one. I got this one. And I have this one, too. So I don't know which one.
All equally as ugly.
I don't know which one. I think I'm repping this one today. Game's about to start. Gotta support the Gators, right? You know, your fiance goes there as an alum. You have to support the Gators. So I need them to go ahead and do that to this team for my bet.
I don't think I'd ever support Alabama, but they're playing Colorado. This should be a good game. 7 versus 10 seed. I have UF making it to the Elite Eight Elite Eight. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I guess we can get into a little bit of, we'll go March Madness to start off. We're going to do football, but a lot of good games happened yesterday, including a big upset. Kentucky lost to Oakland, of all teams.
I mean, we talked about it, right? We kind of talked about it. Oakland lives by that 3. And that's just one of those teams. Kentucky has been the team that seems that they love to be upset in the tournament. It just seems like that's just what happens with them. I mean, come on now. Shout out to Oakland just absolutely taking it from them. I guess just destroying them from the 3. I don't even know how to say his last name.
Golke? I think Golke, something like that. Yeah.
32 points, man. Like, I think what I saw a stat all year long. I think he's only taken 48 shots inside of the 3-point line. All of his shots have been at the 3-point line. And I mean, it's crazy, man. He went off. And we knew something like that needed to happen for Oakland to be able to beat Kentucky. And fortunately for Kentucky, man, just another bad year. It's starting to feel like they're more like the Dallas Cowboys of the NCAA tournament, man. Just, brutal.
Yeah, and we said it beforehand, earlier in the week, is Kentucky did not look like a good 3 seed. We did not think they should have deserved the 3 seed. We didn't think they were that good. And like you said, like Purdue, a history of just getting upset in the first round. I believe in the last 4 years, UK has only had 1 win outside of the first round, and they would have been a 2 and a 3 seed in 2 of those losses. So at this point, you have 2 things. One, does UK fire John Calipari? Is it time for them to let go of him and move on? 2, it doesn't have more to do with the one and done mentality of UK. They haven't really done much since their championship title in 2011.
See, that's the thing, man. I think at this point, I mean, it's hard to really fire him if you really think about it. The revenue that he's brought to Kentucky alone, I mean, you just got to ride it out. I mean, it's college basketball, right? You don't know what's going to really happen. Look what happened. Coach K, look how many times he would get knocked out first, second round in the tournament. You just got to ride it out. It's just one of those coaches that they're going to continue to bring in good recruiting, continue to have that environment. Yeah. Are they going to have some miserable experiences in the tournament? Sure. But there's also going to be some times where they go out there and ball out too. So, I mean, it sucks. But I enjoyed every second of it. I really did.
It's hard not to root for underdog, especially if you're like us, where Maryland and Ohio State didn't even make the tournament. So it's not like you really have anybody to really root for.
We didn't even make the not important tournament, man. We're just
Ohio State plays in the not important tournament round 2 tomorrow against Virginia Tech. Also, a crazier, that stat you tried to mention earlier, he's attempted 335 shots this year, and only 8 of them have been 2-pointers.
That's what it was.
327 to 8 is the ratio there. That's insane.
You gotta know, if I'm telling you, if I'm Kentucky, that triggers something, right? That's like JJ Redick in the NBA. Like, he's gonna be at the 3.
Yeah.
And if he's hot, if you see if a shooter gets hot, it's over. it is over because they just feel so comfortable and confident taking those shots.
And the flip side to that is when that was happening, Kentucky, for whatever reason, decided that they wanted to try to match threes, and that's where they lost them. I mean, Kentucky is overall more talented, overall more athletic, but sometimes the mentality there is if you see another guy on the other team hitting threes, your mentality is, okay, we need to make sure we match those threes. When you can just trade points that he's gonna miss. I believe he only how did he shoot? He was like 9 for like 18 or something like that. So I mean, realistically,
Dude,
there's 9 possessions where there's 9 possessions where he's missing at least. So I mean, again, it's what happens when you have a young team, and a lot of the times that Kentucky players stay more than 1 year. But I mean, hey, you'd like to see it. Well, Oakland, they play Marquette, I believe. Is that the next team they end up playing now? They play Marquette. I forget who they play now.
I can't remember. Normally, no. Normally they stay on the same days. So that way they're staying consistent.
Oh,
They're
you're
not
right.
playing
You're right.
back-to-back days. So whoever won yesterday, I want to say, I think it might either be Tennessee. Is it Tennessee?
I don't.
Tennessee or Iowa State, and I think it's Tennessee. I think they were on the same side of the bracket. I can't really remember. But you want to talk about threes and trying to match them. You know, I was watching the Northwestern Florida Atlantic game today, man. Florida Atlantic played a hell of a game. Their game is mid-range shots, right? Northwestern came out in overtime, and number 5, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I mean, went 4 for 4, just absolutely. They went on an absolute tear at the end. And what happened with Florida Atlantic, just like what you said with Kentucky, you know, Northwestern went up 4, and they went and just tried to keep shooting threes. They got desperate, and there's still 3 minutes left in the game, and you can't do that. And that's why you lost the game. On the other hand, I was watching the San Diego State game today, and dude, they were down. They were down going in, but they just kept playing their game, feeding that post. They just kept hammering it down there, dude. And I mean, LaD went for 32 points, and they were all down low. They were all in the paint, you know, and they just kept feeding it and feeding it. And that's the reason why they stuck to the game plan. They ended up winning. It was close. Whew, I'm still alive. But you know, you have to stick to your game plan in March Madness.
Yeah.
Have to.
And to add to your point with the FAU Northwestern game, even the last attempt of the regulation, FAU had like 8 seconds to try to drive, try to get a mid-range shot, and they dribbled the ball around the 3-point line and chucked up a 3 with 2 guys in your face. Like, you were tied, you probably got a better shot than that, but that's what you get. So I mean, it's definitely, the game's changed because, you know, you have your Stephen Currys who are sitting there hitting these step back threes with 3 guys on him and making them, and now everybody wants to be Stephen Curry. But obviously everybody is not Stephen Curry. There's only one best shooter of all time. You know, you can't emulate that. But yeah, I mean, it's March Madness, so all we can say right now is it takes one bad game for you to lose. And I mean, that's what happened here. You have teams like, you know, Oakland who go out and beat a Kentucky. I mean, I think right now what's crazy is how many good low seeds I feel like there are. Right, as of right now, NC State, who by the way, they're the ones that are playing Oakland, so we have a 14 versus an 11 in the next matchup. We have Oakland and NC State. You know, NC State's a good 11 seed. Oregon is probably the best sneaky 11 seed out of everybody in there right now. I mean, you have a team that was like a 3 to 4 point favorite in their first matchup last night, and I forget who they play next. Let's see who they play next. So Oregon plays Creighton. And I don't even think Creighton's that good of a team. And I believe that Chandelier would agree with me.
So I know you said that your favorite 11 seed is Oregon, but I think I disagree with you on that. I think my favorite 11 seed right now is NC State.
Yeah.
I mean, they kept what they were doing in the ACC tournament. They just kept on doing it. In my opinion, to beat a 6 seed the way they did, 80 to 67, I mean, that's the best 11 seed I see out there. And that's the reason why in my bracket, I know it seems crazy, but in my bracket, I have them going to the Elite 8 because they're playing their game right now, and they are hot. And we know how basketball is. Look what happened to UConn when they were that 9 seed. They got hot at the right time, and they absolutely sounds like someone didn't get hot.
So it's just sorry, Harper has been farting all like afternoon. It just smells so bad.
Gross, gross.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean that's it. I think NC State, Oregon, yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due. Oregon, in one of my brackets, I had somehow had the Gamecocks going way farther than they needed to go to, just as a, see what happens kind of bracket. But Oregon, they they took it to them. I didn't think they had a chance, in my opinion. They didn't look that great in the Pac-12 tournament, early exit, and well, not really early. I think they made the quarterfinals, I think. Um, but not either way. I mean, I got to say the best 11 seed's got to be NC State. Has to be.
and Oregon also won the Pac-12 championship, I believe, as well. But like you said,
Did
even
they?
yeah, Oregon won
Okay.
the Pac-12. But NC State,
Okay.
like I said, the same thing. They got hot at the right time. I mean, you beat Duke, you beat Virginia on a banked three to send it to overtime. You beat North Carolina. You're beating these good teams, and you go out and you beat a pretty decent. Was it South? They played South? No, they didn't play South Carolina. They played Texas Tech. You beat a Texas Tech team who isn't bad. I mean, you say you have them in the Elite Eight. I have them in the Sweet 16, and I have them losing to UF. So that's why I said I have UF in the Elite Eight. That's where I see the matchup going. Um, but yeah, it means it's all about streaks. You could have a scenario where I believe we can have two 11 seed teams that can make the Final Four, which would
Could
be
possibly
crazy.
happen. I mean, what all 6 11 seeds, 11 seed has won every single one, except for right now, Clemson's beating New Mexico 51-32. Is that about right?
And all the women's NCAA tournament too, the 11 seeds have beaten the 6 seeds so far. So right now
Man,
the
this
11
is
seeds are
it.
hot.
This is crazy, man. I mean, this is on a whole nother level here. Um, I love it. Dude, I could talk basketball all day. There's not really a lot going on in football right now. I mean, right now, watching some of these games, who do you think looks the best in the best shape?
Well, out of the games we've seen so far, it's really hard to sit there and really say, oh, who looks the best? Because I mean, you have your 16s playing your ones. I mean, obviously, right now Stetson is getting absolutely rolled right now. It's
Oh, it's
not
not that bad.
it's not even close right now. Yeah, it's what 26-57 right now. You're playing against the number one team in the nation right now, UConn, the defending champions. And it's really hard to go against them. But if we're going against like teams who I really, I mean, honestly, I kind of want to agree with NC State and Oregon, like two teams that are on the lower levels who blew out the competition they played yesterday. And, were supposedly under. Now, Oregon wasn't an underdog. Oregon came into it as a favorite.
Right.
And I guess another team I could say is, I mean, again, it's hard to say North. Illinois. Illinois did a pretty good job. Now they were down a half, yeah, they were down a half, but ended up winning by like
Scary.
16.
That was
Uh,
scary.
and one team I'm going to say on the reverse side that I was really disappointed in yesterday is going to be
Kansas.
well, Kansas should have lost, but I'm going to say Nevada. I'm it stinks that Nevada blew. I saw like 12, 16 point lead with like 5 minutes
Against
left.
Dayton.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
ended up losing to Dayton. I had Nevada not really going far, but I had them as a 10 seed upset. It's just unfortunate that they that's how they went out yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, but again, that's the tournament, man.
Yeah.
You gotta take those streaks when you have them. I think yesterday we were talking. I forget who was playing. Who was it? Do you remember who we were talking about? Oh, it was the Michigan State Mississippi State game. Mississippi State had a great run this year. They looked good. Unfortunately, Michigan State obviously has been there before. They know what it's like. But when you're playing when you're playing a 2-3 zone and your main offense is to feed it low post, I mean that just comes back on coaching. Everybody's taught when you're playing a 2-3 zone, you hit the high post and look for the corners or the middle, the gaps here on
Yeah.
the sides. That's how you feed it and work the zone. And the fact you just kept going down low, I get I talked about it, stick to your game plan. But when your game plan is obviously
Not working.
feeding the low post in a 2-3 zone, You can't do it. You just can't do it. And for Michigan State's credit, they stuck with it. It worked, and they showed Mississippi State up. I mean, they're probably the best 9 seed going
Michigan State,
in my opinion.
every single year, I always have Michigan State going to like the Sweet 16, just because Tom Izzo is one of the best coaches, probably a top 15 coach of all time in college
Yeah,
basketball. It's a great coach. He's been there
yeah.
before. And I mean, even last night, you talked about the game plan. We talked about how bad Mississippi State did. Well, let's talk
Mhm.
about how good Tom Izzo did at doing his research on the team, knowing, hey, this is their guy. Let's just run 2-3 on them. They can't shoot outside. Let's make them try to get to the post, and they couldn't. Other than that, you're going to have to take those threes, and they're not going to get it. Now, I
Hey,
still think Michigan State shouldn't have been in the tournament. I don't think they should have made the tournament, but they did, and I always just trust Tom Izzo to know what he's doing with those Michigan State teams. They can be an 11th seed for all I care, and I would still probably have them win in that first round.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's tough, man. They're a good team, great coach. It was just really irritating watching that game, especially because I took Mississippi State because they had such a good end of the year and just fell apart.
You just took Mississippi State because they kept ruining your parlays. That's the only reason why. They kept ruining your parlays, and you decided you wanted to take them for once, and they ruined your parlay
Yeah,
again.
that's true. They
Mississippi
did. They
State
messed
is
up.
they're your Brewers. That's what they
They
are. They're
really
your
are.
Brewers.
They really are. Yeah. I don't know how many 16 game parlays I missed by one just because
And
of that.
and you know why, Nick? Who went to Mississippi State?
Oh, who went to Mississippi
Dak
State?
Prescott.
Oh, and there it is. There it
That's the
is. It
reason
all
why.
comes out. Never bet for Mississippi State again. I will say, I know you brought up your team that you liked. My favorite team that I like right now, the way they looked yesterday, Iowa State. I mean, they're just keeping it going. They're just keeping that. They're building off the momentum, and they're just keeping it going, man. I really enjoy watching Iowa State. I actually picked them to win it all,
Yeah. So which is funny. That means that you, me, and Dylan have all picked Iowa State to win it all.
which means it's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
that's
That's
very true.
basically that's what it means.
Like, I mean, Iowa State, it's crazy how sneakily good of a basketball team they've been in the past 10 to 15 years. They're always
Yeah,
up there with one of the better teams in the past 10 to 15 years. I believe even the year that Ohio State was a 2 seed and Wichita State was like upsetting everybody, I believe Iowa State was the 1 or 2 seed that year as well. And so it's like there's always sneakily a good team in the Big 12 there. But yeah, they finished the season off hot, and they were blowing out really. And they were blowing. Sorry, my mic went out. And they were blowing out really
that's
good teams. They were blowing out Baylor. Man, they're blowing out Baylor. They blew out Houston. They blew
yeah,
out Kansas. Really good teams. And it's always the best to get that done at the end of the season there when you have everything figured out. Keep that momentum riding. So it's going to be really hard to beat Iowa State. I believe they have a
yeah.
decent bracket over there. I mean, you have Illinois at the 3 seed and the 1 seed UConn. That's going to be the whole testament for them. Can they get
Right,
past UConn when it gets down to the Elite Eights? And they're really going to see how good they are when it gets to there.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much basketball to talk about. If you want to talk about, we have some matchups tonight, I believe, and coming into tomorrow as well, because we don't know what the Sunday games are gonna be until then. Some intriguing matchups tonight to look at. See if I can get those up. Obviously, you have Colorado, Florida just started. Florida's up 7-5. That should be a really good game. Auburn's up 12-5 right now. One game I'm going to look at, and I think we've talked about it before, is 12-5. It's going to be James Madison versus Wisconsin. Now, James Madison started off the year really well. I believe at one point they were even ranked in the top 20. And they're playing against a Wisconsin team who I believe had a little bit off of a year. James Madison is 31-3 coming into the game as a 12 seed. And then we want to look at the other 12-5 seed game. We have Grand Canyon versus St. Mary's. A lot of people probably pick St. Mary's, and I still think Grand Canyon is going to be another upset 12-5 today.
It's very possible. Obviously Wisconsin, I don't know. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't know how Wisconsin got in. I'm not a huge
At a
fan of
5 seed, so
Wisconsin.
they definitely got in pretty high too, and that's a top
Yeah,
25 team.
I don't, but the ball I've seen them play, I don't know if I don't know. I mean, they squeaked out. I agree. I think JMU could be the team that takes them out. JMU's had a very, very good season this year. Granted, they haven't played crazy good teams, but that doesn't always mean anything.
Mhm.
We know how basketball is. You stay hot, things happen. So, whoever goes out there and I don't know. I think it might go down to size. I think it might go down to a size advantage on this. Whoever comes in with the biggest team, and Wisconsin normally that team. I
Those
mean,
corn-fed guys up in the Midwest.
yeah, yeah. So, but I think I can't choose. I can't choose this game. I really can't. And for it to be a 5-12 matchup, do we already get our 5-12 yet? I think we already got our 5-12.
UAB just lost. UAB was a 12-5 matchup. They just lost.
Hold on.
Um,
And let's see.
I don't know who's the.
Obviously, McNeese didn't get the job done
Yeah,
against
no, they
Gonzaga.
did not.
So we have either Duke. Oh wait, no, that's 4.
It's
So it looks like St. Mary's Grand Canyon might be the matchup. Grand Canyon might be the one that gets it done. Uh, because one of those two is going home. We statistically taken it
That's
by the
always,
stats.
yeah.
1 12 seed is going into the next round. I don't know which one, but one of those is going into the next round.
Yeah. And and we'll talk about tomorrow's games, I guess, a little bit too. There's some actually really good, prestigious games tomorrow. Gonzaga, Kansas is a big one. I mean, you have two of the better prestigious basketball teams programs, especially in the past 10 to 15 years, going up against each other in Gonzaga, Kansas. Honestly, I see Gonzaga getting that done. Kansas was out their lead scorer. That's going to be a great game there.
Zags are going to win this one because Kansas is without their best player on their team. I just don't. I mean, they barely squeaked it out against Samford. I don't think they're going to be able to have the power to be able to get Gonzaga when Gonzaga is fully healthy. So I think the Zags are probably going to win that game. Um, man, you know, Oregon might be Creighton tomorrow too.
Yeah. I
Oregon
mean,
might very well be Creighton tomorrow.
Oregon's a good team. And then another one, we have another two prestigious universities going into Michigan State and North Carolina meet in the second round. And that's going to be a good matchup too. Again, we talk about having the coaching experience there. There are two teams that have been in many national championships, Final Fours in the past 10 to 15 years going up against each other.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give UNC the slight edge here, right? I mean,
I have
I,
Michigan State winning. That in my
here's
bracket.
here's what I'll say to this. If UNC is dumb enough to feed a low post in a 2-3 zone, then you deserve to lose.
There's a
So
lot better shooters on UNC, I feel, than they are at Mississippi State. Uh,
yeah, absolutely.
and
Absolutely. Do we think Oakland can squeak it out against a very hot NC State
that's
team?
a fun matchup for me. That's one of those matchups where you don't really care which team loses. Or I guess I don't really care the other ones either.
I mean, I
But
care if NC State win. I really would like
what
NC State to win, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's definitely a fun matchup. What's another one that
Duquesne and
might
Illinois may be interesting. Now, Duquesne, who just beat BYU, and Illinois had a little bit of trouble with Morehead State, so we don't know what exactly might go on there. I
well,
doubt they
Illinois
lose.
had trouble with them in the first half, not really in the second half. Um, Man, I don't know. BYU, we talked about that. That was another team that we saw them possibly losing that game. So I think, I don't know, Illinois is a good team, man. They're good 3 seed there. So I mean, I don't know.
And
I don't know.
Another game to look out for tonight is going to be that Houston versus Longwood game. And the only reason why is because of the history that in the past 3 or 4 years, there has always been an upset with the 2 or 1 seed by a name that is suggestive or phallic in nature. You had Ohio State losing to Oral Roberts. You have St. Peter's winning. Last year was Hiley Dickerson. And now you have Longwood versus Houston. So you never know whether or not that phallic suggestive name is going to come out on top.
Interesting. Houston got the #1 overall
Yeah,
seed,
they're
right?
number one. Yeah, Longwood's technically speaking the worst team in the tournament.
If I'm looking at it, Stetson right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah, probably
um,
Stetson.
um, do we think Alabama's going to beat Charleston?
That was one of the matchups that I had like for whatever reason, I had such a hard time picking Alabama straight up. I had to think about it. Now, I still think Alabama should probably win this. They are a
They should.
10-point favorite realistically in this game.
Hmm.
I think Charleston wins. I would not be surprised. I feel like Alabama isn't that great of a basketball team, but they should be good enough to beat a team like Charleston.
You never know, man. You never know. Charleston could very well pull it out. Last game I want to talk about here. I know you got a lot to do. I gotta finish here. Lunch is almost over. Um, I feel like I feel really bad for Utah State. They're not even the favorite going into this game. They're at an 8 seed. I don't agree with where they're at. And I think with them being the underdog going into this game as an 8 seed, I get it's 8 versus 9. TCU is in a better conference. Utah State has something to prove tonight. And I really do think Utah State's going to come out on top on that game.
Yeah, I mean, on the other side of that, Texas A&M's a 9 seed, and they are favorites against 8 seed Nebraska. So I mean, again, when you go up to those 9 and 8 games, it's so flip floppy. Even last night, the Oregon versus South Carolina game, Oregon was a 3-point favorite going into the game. So I mean, you have these seedings that really don't mean stuff much of the time because even if you're seeded 5 people higher, they're like, yeah, you're just not as good. I mean, obviously, how you've been playing recently has something to deal with that. But still, I mean, if you're a 16 seed, you're a top 25 team, realistically speaking. There's only 4 sides, 4 times 6 is 24, so you're supposed to be a top 25 team according to the standings there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it'll be a fun game. I mean, I honestly, I'm rooting. I can't root for him. I can't because I have them. I have Grand Canyon and James Madison losing, so I'm not rooting for you.
Regardless, I mean, on your parlay, that's fine. But I think for me, as someone who isn't betting, I would want to root for whatever causes the most chaos. You want Charleston to win? Sure. Longwood to win? Sure. Purdue blows another game to a 16 seed 16 seed team in back-to-back years. Give me that. I want it.
Hey man, I just for giggles here, I'm probably gonna do something like that just to see,
Purdue, a 27-point favorite. I mean, if anything, at least pick.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's to say. If anything, at least pick Grambling to cover the spread. Although I truly think Purdue's going to win by 40. I really do think. Purdue's
Yeah, I don't
40.
think it's. I think they have a bad taste in their mouth, man. I really, I don't think it's really going to be that.
You don't want to have a bad taste in your mouth when you play Longwood.
No, you really don't.
You really don't.
You really don't. So here's what I'm looking at right now, man. I need St. Mary's to win by 5.5.
Okay.
I need Utah State to win. I need Bama to win against College of Charleston. We saw College of Charleston. They're not that great. Come on now. And then I need A&M. I feel like A&M should be able to squeak that one out against Nebraska. But Big Ten basketball, dude, you never know. You never know with Big Ten basketball.
It has been.
I also have Florida in my other bet. So right now they're winning 22-14. So they need to keep it up.
Is Big Ten basketball undefeated so far in the tournament? I forget what all Big Ten teams there are in there.
Big Ten basketball, I believe, is undefeated in the tournament right now.
Yeah, I believe Illinois won. Nebraska plays today. Northwestern just won. Michigan State won. So I mean,
Big Ten is undefeated.
We'll see what Purdue and Wisconsin do today.
I mean,
Purdue. I mean, again, they're like Kentucky. They really like losing against bad teams. I don't know if it's like some sort of sadist type of stuff where they want to feel pain, but they really do like losing against bad teams.
They want to feel pain. Update: Florida is up 24-14. So let's go. Let's go. Honestly, I feel like Florida. They had a lot of good upsets at the end of the year, which I only have a 7 seed, but I honestly could have seen them probably getting a 6 seed. I feel like there's some 6 seeds out there that lost to an 11 seed that I feel like probably shouldn't have been there.
Hey, like I said, I really feel like they were going to make it to the Elite Eight. Their path to the Elite Eight, they win today. They play Marquette. They beat Marquette. After they beat Marquette, they have to play the winner of North Carolina State and Oakland. So that's not a hard path to get to the Elite Eight after that.
It's not, but you got to get past the number 2. You got to get past Marquette.
Well, first you have to get past number 10. So
that's true. Yeah. Get back. Yeah. Task
there's
at
still
hand.
11 and a half minutes left in the first half. So
Task at hand.
a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of basketball to
absolutely.
be played.
Absolutely. But yeah, hey, like always, man, it's my birthday weekend. So you know what that means. Guys, it's March Madness. Go do whatever you want. Go do whatever you want. Go have a couple of drinks.
Which
You go
birthday are you
out there.
celebrating? Are you
I picked the 24th this year because
okay?
it's on a Sunday. 25th is on a Monday. Who wants to celebrate on a Monday? But yeah. But
I'll tell you who wants to celebrate on a Monday. That'd be Utley, whose birthday is the 25th.
but hey, I'll let you guys talk. I gotta get to work. Lunch is over. Again, enjoy the
Do what
weekend.
you
Do
want.
whatever you want. Drink some beers. Enjoy March Madness, and we'll see you next week.
Deuces.
Deuces.
This is the part of the show where we sit here and stare at Dylan until he gets on here.
Yeah, I am right now. I'm trying to get the camera to work. All I have is audio.
That's fine. We can hear your sultry voice, Dylan. As we could we just again recap what Nick and I talked about if we want to talk March Madness again?
Listen, we can continue something else. The only thing I'm going to say is I called Kentucky. And if you look at the 2020s, we're in the fourth year of March Madness. Kentucky only has one playoff win in basketball, and it's kind of crazy how there are 15, 16 seed teams that have the same amount, if not more, wins in 4 years in March Madness than Kentucky has. It's just
Mhm.
it's crazy. You wonder if Calipari, wonder how long Kentucky is going to keep him there until maybe they think it's time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised they did. I just think the only reason they don't is because how much of a draw he brings in recruiting wise. I
Yeah,
mean, kids see him and they're like, hey, this guy is the one who sent out all these great players one and dones. He had John Wall, he had DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, Devin Booker, and more guys that he has in the league right now. So it's really hard to sit there and be like, oh, we need to fire this coach when he's the one drawing in all this talent to the team, albeit they're losing in the first round every single year. But
yeah,
I mean, it's really hard to push out guys like that. So
yeah. Well, but you also bring up a point. You're looking at a guy who, yes, they bring in all this talent, but the talent doesn't stay long enough for them to build something there. You look at your teams like Duke. Duke kept guys. Of course, they had the team with RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, and Zion, who all left after 1 year.
yeah,
But you look at teams like Kansas, you look at teams like Gonzaga, Baylor, teams like that, they bring in guys and those guys stay because they're playing for the school, they're playing for that team. And a lot of these guys Kentucky brings in, they go freshman year, I've done what I need to do, time to go make some money. And that's why Kentucky seems to never do much in March Madness.
yeah. And I think the interesting thing too is, I thought at some point in time, and I feel like it still is true, whereas with the rookies coming into the NBA, I feel like it's such watered down talent. And just because they're just not ready. They're not,
Yeah.
not physically ready. You have a 19-year-old who's going to go up against a 28-year-old who's been in the league for several years, who has the fitness and stuff. I mean, you have crazy things like maybe Chet Holmgren. He is
Yeah.
dominant, but dude's skinny. You put a big man on him, and he probably will bully him. I mean, we saw what Embiid had done to the likes of Wembanyama. Put up
Yeah.
70 some points on Wembanyama. So I don't know. It's a different game. Obviously you don't have to stay that long. All you have to do is be 1 year removed. Now, of course, I think this year they're saying they're getting rid of the Ignite team, the G League Ignite team. So you can't just have kids going from high school to the G League Ignite team, then going to the draft, like we saw like Scoot Henderson do. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's these one and done. I mean, it's been a problem for multiple years. It's not like this has
Yeah.
been, a new thing. There were one and done's happening, way back when in the early 2010s. We've talked about this, but UK's always been the biggest one
Yeah.
at it. Arguably, sometimes the only one really pushing these one and dones, like entire teams of one and dones.
Yeah. And then going back to like you were talking about with Scoot Henderson, he was one of the most exciting prospects that people were pushing. They were saying he was going to be the reason that Lillard stayed in Portland, and Henderson has not panned out. He has not been playing up to his expectations and the expectations of others. So you wonder if, like you were talking about, these guys going one and done, it's the fitness. Maybe it's the bright lights, not getting used to playing on a bigger stage because all they're doing is they play in high school for 4 years. Even the switch from JV to varsity is completely different. And that carries over. You play 1 year of college, it's a totally different game. And it's not the same going college to NBA. There's a lot more talent. There's a lot more riding on your play, and not continuing getting used to the college level and being able to take on that stress and that expectation. That's when you get players like D'Angelo Russell, who played his time in college with Ohio State, played really well at the start of his career. You'd think that D'Angelo probably would have done really well in LA, but they traded him away because they wanted to build that team with Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, stuff like that. And once he left LA, he played phenomenal. And you see that some of these players that didn't play 1 year tend to play a lot better than the ones that only played 1 year. Then, like you said, like you have the exceptions like Kobe, LeBron, and even Dwight Howard, who I don't think any of them went to college, just went straight. But they're different. They're different breeds. None of these guys going into the league now are at the level that they were in that time.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it's just one of those things where, I mean, I feel like the biggest part will always be the mental aspect, that jump. I mean, you're thinking about it this way: you're jumping from the high school competitive level to the professional level,
Yeah.
and you're skipping the college aspect of it, where even if you have a really good college team, say even the Duke teams are winning national championships. Truthfully, only one or two of those guys are going to the NBA. And the other guys are just going to be on the team. Even starters, not all of them are going to go to the NBA. They're going to be, future car salesmen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's, it's only, what is it? Like, I believe the stats only like 5% or maybe less than that of college athletes end up making a pro anyway. So it's interesting then, like at that point, with NIL, why not stay longer and get that money? Why not go ahead and get your degree? You're getting paid to play a sport and go to college at the same time. And a lot of times what people don't realize is you're a student athlete, and there's a reason that the student part comes first. But nowadays it's kind of harder to do that when you're getting paid $1 million to play a sport.
Going off what you were talking about, where only like one or two guys on a team make it to the NBA, a lot of these guys that are being able to go to college for free, a lot of these guys are riding on being selected in the NBA. But even times where you're one of the best players on a team, it doesn't pan out. You look at Ohio State's teams between like 2010 to like 2012, where you had Aaron Kraft, Jared.
This meeting is recorded.
There's two Dylans. Which one's the real Dylan?
I'm trying to get him out.
Gosh. This is getting crazy. Are you on your laptop right now and your phone?
You know what?
What?
I'm trying to get him out of here. Is that better?
You're still. I mean, you always mute one, I guess, if it's not working. But as of right now, there's still two of you. But I guess what the
How
deal.
about now?
Yeah, I see that works. But yeah, you were going on about the Aaron Kraft, the 2010s Buckeyes teams.
Yeah. So what I was saying, I think it's still echoing,
And I think it's only
but
echoing because you're probably hearing yourself on the other thing too.
you can't hear me.
I can hear only one of them.
Okay. So what I was saying with the Aaron Craft team, you had people like Aaron Craft, Jared Solinger, Diebler, arguably a big three in college basketball. But Jared Solinger didn't pan out. Aaron Craft didn't pan out. So even these top-notch college teams may not pan out in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, again, and that's one of those rare occasions like you were talking about how there's like Evan Turner. Evan Turner, I believe, was a first round pick. I believe Jaron Soldier was a first round pick. He was picked like 9th or 10th by the Celtics. Evan Turner was picked high by the wasn't the Sixers, was it? The Sixers draft Evan Turner?
Sixers drafted Turner.
Yeah. So I mean, again, they just didn't pan out. Evan Turner was a good role player for a while. Jared Solinger, I feel like injuries is what hurt him in because even in college he was getting injured a lot with back spasms, would miss
Yeah.
games. Aaron Craft didn't even make the league. He was drafted by the Warriors and then was playing on their G League team, I guess, or was it the D League at the time? And he like won he kept winning like defensive player of the year and defensive like all defensive teams, and then ended up playing in Greece, and now has his doctorates. So, I mean, he's been doing well for himself outside of basketball. And even John Diebler, who was a great three-point shooter all time, one of the best shooters in history, didn't even make the NBA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's even these great guys aren't going to make it. I guess moving on from basketball, a little bit of football to talk about before we leave. Mike Williams, after the Chargers cut him because of his contract, he ended up signing with the Jets. What is that offensive talent? And also Tyron Smith also signed with the Jets. What these two new additions do for the title hopes, or I guess the division hopes for the Jets, who have Aaron Rodgers back now?
Well, like you're saying, Aaron Rodgers back, biggest thing. Got a good quarterback in there. And now you add a really good second receiver in Mike Williams. So you have Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, two good receivers. So Aaron Rodgers now has two good targets. I think the Jets could be AFC East champions, maybe.
Really? Over Buffalo, over Miami?
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. It's hard, like I said, I was talking to Christian, man. It's really hard to tell, just because we haven't seen a full season with Aaron Rodgers. We haven't even seen a full quarter with Aaron Rodgers, a full drive with Aaron Rodgers. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this team. What Aaron Rodgers you get? Do you get the last year of the Packers? He was okay, Aaron Rodgers, or do you get prime MVP Aaron Rodgers with a more balanced team? Because the Jets defense is arguably one of the better defenses in the NFL. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we get to pair that with a comparable offense that has good talent. Brees Hall's over there. You have, like we said, we have Garrett Wilson now, Mike Williams. That's a good addition. You got some good blocking, and so it's gonna be interesting to see how they do over there in New York. I guess another one we'll talk about is going to be the signing of Paris Campbell to the Eagles.
I think it's a good signing for Philadelphia. They need a deep threat. Quez Watkins wasn't there all year due to injuries. And I know we had a conversation with Christian about injuries. And my main point was this. So you look at Saquon, you look at Paris Campbell. Two of those guys were relied on heavily by New York to produce. And with Daniel Jones out as well, their workload was a lot. They were relied on heavily, and that causes injury. They don't get time to recuperate when their workload is looking like over 20 carries a game and having to carry that offense on their backs. So with a new staff, more talent, and a great quarterback that they can rely on to make plays, I think that injury is not going to be as much of a problem as it used to be.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, you saw what happened with Christian McCaffrey. How yes, he was great with the Panthers, but he was getting used a lot, and it wears on your body. And now he goes to the Niners, where he has other guys that can share the ball. He doesn't get hurt as much, and he's staying in games. So it's gonna be interesting. I like the signing. I was talking about how much they needed a speed threat, somebody who can run deep, speedy routes, somebody who can run short routes, little dump
Mhm.
tosses. We basically have another running back-esque wide receiver in there, which is great. Um, and then we also have Devontae Parker. So which one's going to start in the slot? It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that slot position. You have
Yeah.
a more physical receiver with Devontae, then you have a really speedy receiver in Paris Campbell. It's going to be a great pickup. I'm going to be interested to see how this is. I hope he does stay healthy because that would do really well. And obviously, he's not going to be skin the ball as much because he has Devontae Smith and AJ Brown to carry the load, Goddard to carry the load, Saquon to carry the load. So it'll be very interesting to see how he pairs within this offense. I'm going to be interested to see how Kellen Moore's offense does. I really want to see how Kellen Moore's offense pans out. I hope it's well, but I guess we'll see when week 1, week 2, week 3 happens. Maybe even the preseason. Who knows?
Well, like we're looking at 3 guys, right? 3 guys who used to be with division rivals. Kellen Moore was the OC in Dallas,
Mhm.
and we got Saquon and Paris Campbell from New York. And I think people don't realize just how fast Paris Campbell was. We had the opportunity to see him at Ohio State.
Right.
Urban Meyer loved those little shovel passes to him, and he just outrun the defenses. So Paris Campbell, great signing. Like you said, maybe deep routes, but running back-esque to where we could just toss it to him and outrun the defense.
Yeah. And, with obviously it's going to be interesting how Juergens does, how great Kelsey was at pulling to run those jet sweeps and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to see how he does there. But is there anything else you'd like to mention before we go for today? Anything else in the sports world you'd like to bring up?
Talk about Jason Kelsey and Cam Juergens. One thing that we tend to forget about is how good that Stoutland is.
Mhm.
You look at a guy like Jordan Mailata, who is a rugby player, and now he is one of the best tackles in the NFL. So I think Cam Juergens, with Jason Kelsey and Stoutland mentoring him, I think that Cam Juergens could possibly be a pro ball center.
It'll be interesting. I mean, even Jason Kelsey, as great as he was, he didn't really start getting amazing until Stoutland got there. So
Yeah.
I mean, even then, that's going to be the good thing. And we'll see how Juergens does. He'll probably have to play some preseason snaps. He's going to have to get some game time snaps in there because we don't know how he's going to do snapping the ball. I mean, if anything else happens, possibly the fact that the Eagles may have JPJ, the center from Oregon, drafted, who was really comparable to Kelsey. I don't know if he's there at that 22nd spot, but if he is, it'll be interesting to see if the Eagles go among that route and keep Juergens at an interior offensive lineman. But if you have nothing else, then I guess we'll enjoy our weekend, watch some March Madness, and play some Call of Duty.
Yeah, and the women's tournament.
Oh no! Oh yeah, I forgot the women's tournament.
Middle Tennessee upset Louisville.
Yeah, well, as of right now, all of these 11 seeds have beaten 6 seeds in both tournaments.
And LSU right now in the third quarter is only beating Rice by 1.
Because it's the Rice Owls, Dylan. One of the best teams ever.
I completely forgot.
But I guess we'll see you on Monday, and Dylan, I'll talk to you in a couple hours soon when we play some Call of Duty.
Yeah, enjoy hanging out with your fiance's parents.
I'm going to start cooking dinner because I gotta go here soon.
Alright.
See ya.
See ya.
For real, the sugar-coated fallacies. David's on the mic spinning knowledge of flair. He breaks down the stats with a voice smooth like air. Christian's a funny guy, bringing laughter and joy. He got the jokes unlocked and no one can destroy. Next the analysts break down the X's and O's. He sees the game differently like nobody knows. Together unite, forming a podcast dream team, making waves in the industry, fulfilling their schemes. Highlight taking pockets, we taking over the scene. We drop dubs and chugs, living the sports dream. From hot takes to deep dive, it's a winning regime. Come join the hype, we not just blowing steam.